Lionel Messi moving to Man City to save Guardiola. New Chelsea goalkeeper. Kvaratskhelia's new club, Paris Saint-Germain, snaps up Osimhen and a top striker for Manchester United. All this and more in today's episode. If this video gets 500 thumbs up, it will give us the incentive to keep making new videos. So let's get started. Jose Mourinho is once again on the brink of being sacked. Well, it's hardly surprising, considering the recent results of his Fenerbahce side. Just consider this. Only one win in the last 4 matches, along with a draw and 2 defeats. For a team that's supposed to be fighting for the title, this is a disaster, and it's unlikely any fan would call such a failure anything else. They're in second place in the league, trailing the leaders by 8 points, and that's despite the fact that Fenerbahce hasn't beaten a single team from the top 6. What else could you call it but a disgrace? Let's recall how this season began. The Fenerbahce management placed their bet on Mourinho, hoping that the special one would finally end Galatasaray's dominance in the Turkish league. They provided him with a couple of high-profile signings and outlined a project for the next couple of seasons. But things haven't gone according to plan. Why? Perhaps because Jose wasn't ready for this challenge? Or maybe because Turkish football turned out to be far more treacherous than he anticipated? The question is rhetorical, isn't it? And now the team is teetering on the brink of failure, not only in the league, but also in Europe. Yes, even in the Europa League, things are going from bad to worse. Imagine this, they're only 1 point above the relegation zone, 1 mistake, and goodbye to the European spring. Yet it was in tournaments like these that Mourinho used to demonstrate his true class. But now it looks like a shadow of his former self. It's as if Jose himself has lost that magic that allowed him to win trophies with teams of any level. Let's be honest, sacking Mourinho now would be an admission of the project's failure. But does Fenerbahce need to take that step? Yes, the club needs to fight at least for a Champions League spot, and a managerial change mid-season is always a risk. On the other hand, without prospects of a title or European success, what's the point of keeping the Portuguese manager? A local coach would suffice for second place. And here's the main question: will the management risk parting ways with Mourinho? However, wait. There's more. Another scenario is looming on the horizon. Everton's new owner, Dan Friedkin, reportedly wants to bring Jose back to the Premier League, and for some reason it makes sense. English football has always been fertile ground for the Portuguese manager's charisma. His sharp tongue, his bold statements, his flamboyant gestures, it's ready-made entertainment. Imagine Mourinho back on the touchline in the Premier League, once again stirring up the press and the fans. Yes, his return might be short-lived, but who would refuse such a spectacle? And here we are at a crossroads. Fenerbahce can stick with a disillusioned manager and try to salvage the season, or they can take a risk and say goodbye to him in the hope of something better. And what about Jose himself? Perhaps he's already packing his bags for England, where he's always a welcome sight. What will the Portuguese manager choose? What will the Istanbul management do? Questions without answers, but isn't that what makes football so captivating? Share your thoughts in the comments. Should Fenerbahce continue to believe in Mourinho, or is it better to look for a new manager? And what about his return to the Premier League? Vlahovic on the radar. And not just any club, but Manchester United themselves. Just imagine, the Serbian powerhouse, whose name has been making waves in Serie A for years, could end up at Old Trafford. Information is leaking out, as if someone deliberately cracked open a window into the transfer backstage. And you know what? Things are heating up. The Red Devils, it seems, wouldn't mind splashing the cash for this guy. Are they serious about shaking up their attack, which, let's be honest, has been more like a sad kitten than a roaring lion lately? However, United isn't alone in this race for the Serbian forward. Arsenal old acquaintances are back in the picture again. Remember that January saga of 2022? It seems the Gunners still cherish the hope of getting Dusan. You have to admire their persistence, or laugh at it if you're a United fan. It's up to you. The situation with Vlahovic at Juventus is like a volcano. He's seemingly a key player, and Thiago Motta is counting on him. But the contract, that eternal sticking point. If a new deal doesn't materialize, the Turin club will have some serious thinking to do. Letting such a striker go for free? They'd rather sell themselves for spare parts. Understandably, Vlahovic's price tag is astronomical. Not every top club can afford such luxury. But Arsenal apparently counts their pennies after scoring a goal. And Manchester United? Well, they're just Manchester United. They always have a few extra million lying around in the back rooms somewhere. Interestingly, the Red Devils might even have some leverage. Have you heard about Juventus's interest in Xerxes? There's a potential swap deal brewing. Kill two birds with one stone, as they say. Or rather, one Serbian eagle in exchange for a Dutch rabbit. Vlahovic remains loyal to Juve for now, but as they say, you don't turn down good offers, especially if those offers come from Old Trafford, where the atmosphere isn't exactly rosy right now, to put it mildly. But the ambitions are still there. But hold on, let's not forget about Vlahovic himself. What will he choose? The London chic and tactical acumen of Arteta, or the Mancunian drive and the chance to become the new idol for the red side of Manchester? It's not just a player at stake, it's the future of the attacking line for two giants of English football. Manchester United, of course, has other options in mind, but Vlahovic, he's like that tempting prospect that just keeps drawing you in. 12 goals for Juve this season. That's a statement of intent. He's the kind of goal-scoring forward that United desperately needs. His youth, his experience in Serie A, it's like a ready-made recipe for success, or at least the hope of that success. But time, as always, plays a key role. Vlahovic's contract expires in 2026, and if there's no extension, Juventus will have to make a tough decision. Sell now while there's demand, or risk losing him for free in a couple of years. Manchester United and Arsenal are ready to make their move. Who will outmaneuver whom? Who will be more agile and convincing? Vlahovic isn't just a transfer, he's a potential catalyst for Manchester United. He's a chance to breathe new life into their attack. He's a breath of fresh air for fans tired of lackluster performances. His arrival could be the spark that will ignite the flames of victory. Or maybe not. It depends on how the cards fall. So, who will Vlahovic choose? Where will this Serbian powerhouse steer his career? What do you think about all this? Who will win? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear your opinion. Marcus Rashford, a Manchester United through and through, is reportedly considering a change of scenery. After 20 years in the club's system, the lad who literally grew up at Old Trafford is seeking a new challenge. Seriously? Has the time come when even homegrown talents no longer see a bright future in the red shirt? And where is he aiming to go? Saudi Arabia, believe it or not. Al-Ahli, Al-Ittihad, Al-Qadsiya. It sounds like the beginning of some Arabian Nights tale, not a football news story. The interest from Al-Ahli, who are rumoured to be the most keen, is particularly intriguing. Could petrodollars really prove stronger than loyalty to the Red Devils? Marcus himself, of course, is saying all the right things. In a recent interview, he mentioned next steps, and that there will be no hard feelings. He's a professional, he understands, or so he claims. You won't get any negative comments about Manchester United from me. That's me as a person, he assures us. Well, of course, what else would he say? Can you imagine a scenario where Rashford trashes the club that gave him everything? That would be too much, even in today's football world, which is overflowing with big transfers and scandalous departures. The guy has been through thick and thin. There have been highs and lows, an FA Cup, a Europa League, a League Cup. But something is missing, isn't it? Especially lately. I don't expect my peak to be now, says Marcus. Ambitious, I'll give him that. But where is he going to find that peak? In the sands of Arabia. With all due respect to the Saudi Professional League, it's not the level a player with Rashford's potential should be aiming for. Although, of course, the financial aspect might be very tempting, and they will have to free up a spot in the squad. They have plenty of foreign players. An interesting detail, they say that only one Saudi club is really pursuing Marcus, and the final decision will be up to the league's sporting director, Michael Emenalo. And that's where you start to wonder, is this whole departure story a consequence of the problems Manchester United has been experiencing in recent years? The team under Ruben Amorim just can't seem to find their rhythm. There's no consistency, just like before. And Rashford, who was once considered the hope and mainstay of the attack, increasingly looks disappointed and lost on the field. Has his patience finally run out? Or is this just another attempt to shake things up, to find new motivation? Losing Rashford, if it actually happens, would be a serious blow for United. And it's not just about his speed, versatility, or goal-scoring ability, although those are important too, of course. It's about something else. Rashford is a symbol. A symbol that an academy graduate can reach the top at his home club. His departure would be a bitter pill for the fans, who saw him as one of their own, loyal to the red colours. On the other hand, it could be an opportunity for a rebuild, for the arrival of new hungry players eager for victories. But who can guarantee that these newcomers will be able to replace Rashford not only on the pitch, but also in the hearts of the fans? Whatever Marcus decides, his legacy at Manchester United is already written in gold. He promises to make a statement himself, 100%. Well, we'll wait. But one thing is certain, Rashford's possible departure is not just a transfer, it's the end of an era. And a lot depends on how this end will be, both for Marcus himself and for Manchester United. And what do you think about this? Will a homegrown hero really trade Old Trafford for a golden cage in Saudi Arabia? Or is it all just rumours, and will Rashford still delight us with his play in the red shirt? So Blues, back to your old habits again? Rumours are persistently linking Borussia Dortmund's Gregor Kobel with a move to London. And you know what? It seems like this time, Chelsea's management is ready to splash some serious cash to finally plug that gaping hole in the last line of defence. The start of the season with Robert Sanchez has been, to put it mildly, nerve-wracking. The Spaniard, bought for a hefty fee from Brighton, has already made enough mistakes to fill an entire season's worth of highlight reels. Sure, his save percentage might seem decent, but stability, confidence, distribution, on all these fronts, Chelsea fans have plenty of questions. And the number of goals conceded, with the Blues trailing only a handful of teams in the league, screams of defensive issues that the goalkeeper position, unfortunately, hasn't been able to fix. Kepa? Forget about it. He seems to already be mentally packing his bags, and it's hard to see him as a serious option anymore. Petrovic? The guy's undoubtedly talented, but let's be honest, one Premier League appearance isn't the kind of experience a team aiming for the top spots needs. In cup games, he's done well, sure, but for the English top flight, sorry, that's just not enough. And that's where he comes in, Gregor Kobel, the 27-year-old Swiss keeper who, despite Borussia Dortmund's less than stellar season, continues to showcase his class in the Bundesliga. Word has it that he's outgrown Dortmund, is hungry for trophies, and the lack of Champions League football next season might just push him to seek a new challenge. It's the perfect moment for Chelsea to swoop in and snap up a potential world-class star. The Blues, rumour has it, see him as nothing less than the future best goalkeeper in the world. Ambitious? Absolutely. But since when has Chelsea ever shied away from ambition? The fee they're reportedly prepared to shell out for Kobel is eye-watering, 70 to 80 million euros. For context, that might even surpass the infamous Kepa transfer, which still leaves a bad taste in many fans' mouths. But, damn it, if Kobel really is that missing puzzle piece Chelsea needs to complete the picture, maybe it's worth it. After all, a goalkeeper is half the team, and a reliable shot stopper who can deliver in the most critical moments is priceless, especially in the Premier League, where the cost of a single mistake can be astronomically high. Of course, before dreaming about Kobel, Chelsea need to clean up the Augian stables of their own squad. 3 goalkeepers are clearly too many, and someone will have to make way. Petrovic and Kepa both seem to be on their way out, which makes sense. Space needs to be freed up, both in terms of wages and the squad list. For Borussia Dortmund, losing Kobel would obviously be a huge blow, but for a player of his caliber, they can command a significant fee, which could help them strengthen other areas of the team, especially since the Black and Yellows aren't in the best shape right now and are in clear need of reinforcements. Could Kobel be the long-term solution for Chelsea? His age, experience, command of the box, and reflexes all work in his favour, and his desire to prove himself at a new level is another important factor. For now, it's all just talk, but Chelsea's intention to invest in a serious goalkeeper is clear, and if they're truly ready to spend record-breaking money on Kobel, it means they have unwavering faith in him. All we can do now is wait, but one thing is certain. Chelsea's goalkeeper situation needs urgent attention, and Gregor Kobel seems like a very promising candidate to step up as the saviour. What do you think? Is it worth it? Can the Swiss keeper justify the millions Chelsea are ready to spend on him and become a new legend at Stamford Bridge? Victor Osimhen is once again at the centre of transfer speculation, and this time Paris Saint-Germain has entered the fray. It seems the Parisians are determined to secure the Nigerian forward, whose recent performances for Galatasaray have made him the talk of European football. 10 goals and 5 assists in 14 matches. Did this guy only come to Turkey to be a shop window for top clubs? PSG has tried to sign Osimhen in the past, but something went wrong. Back then, it seemed the deal fell through due to Napoli's high demands. The club wanted to get the maximum value for their striker, but instead they let him go on loan to Turkey. And now PSG is back in the picture. What has changed? Perhaps Luis Enrique has reconsidered his opinion of the forward, or maybe the team's recent results have prompted more decisive action. The Parisian club, according to media reports, has already contacted Victor. Is he ready to move to Paris? Rumors suggest yes, but without much enthusiasm. Turkey has welcomed him, Galatasaray has become home, and the fans, family. Why trade all of that for a cold, albeit wealthy Paris? And, more importantly, how will Galatasaray themselves feel about all this, as they clearly don't want to part ways with their star so soon? Three-way negotiations involving Napoli, Galatasaray and the player himself sounds like a recipe for transfer chaos. Time is short, January isn't endless, and any complications could stall the process. But is this the first time PSG has faced such complexities? This is a club used to getting what it wants. Remember how they snapped up Neymar from Barca? 222 million euros, and no problem. But the situation is different now. Osimhen is valued at around 80 million, and apparently Paris doesn't want to be splashing the cash, preferring more flexible arrangements. Will the parties be able to agree? The question remains up in the air. By the way, Chelsea's interest adds spice to this story. The Londoners clearly aren't going to be left behind and are ready to intervene at any moment. What does this mean for PSG? Pressure. Pressure that could work both for and against them. The French side needs to act quickly but not lose their heads, because in this race for Osimhen, it's not just about being first, but also about doing things right. And now about Luis Enrique himself. The coach who didn't want to see the Nigerian in his team over the summer now seems forced to reconsider his views. His attacking arsenal, to put it mildly, is misfiring. Randal Kolo Muani, who was bought for a large sum, clearly isn't living up to expectations. Maybe that's why the interest in Osimhen has rekindled, but will the coach himself agree, or will he need more convincing? The irony is that the one who didn't believe in the forward now needs him the most. There's plenty of drama, intrigue, and even a bit of comedy in this story. Turkey, France, Italy, three countries that need to reach a consensus. But can Victor become PSG's saviour? And most importantly, does he even want to? Time will tell. January promises to be a hot one. What do you think? Is Osimhen worth PSG making such sacrifices? According to reports from the Spanish outlet Fichajes, Liverpool have set their sights on Khvicha Kvaratskhelia and are ready to spend £66 million to secure the Georgian winger. Rumour has it that Napoli are not eager to part ways with one of their most promising players, but they might consider a deal if the right offer comes along. After all, keeping hold of a young talent who's already attracting interest from Manchester City and Arsenal could prove to be a tough challenge. Kvaratskhelia is primarily a left-wing forward, but he's also capable of playing through the middle when needed. His blistering pace, masterful dribbling in tight spaces, and ability to slice through defences with lightning-fast passes have impressed many in Serie A. The Georgian helped Napoli win the Scudetto in his debut season and hasn't slowed down. Last season, he provided 17 assists in 32 matches, and this season he's already scored 5 goals and added 3 assists. Isn't that a compelling enough argument for Liverpool to go all in? However, Liverpool already have a wealth of talent on the left flank. Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, and even Federico Chiesa, who has jokingly been referred to as Italy's new diamond, can provide the squad depth they need. The question is, should the Merseyside club splurge a huge sum on yet another skillful winger? On one hand, Liverpool have a penchant for dynamic, attack-minded players. On the other, their budget isn't limitless, and there are areas in defence that could use improvement. Can Kvaratskelia's tricks and crosses address all of the team's needs? Then again, who's to say that a little extra creativity on the wing would hurt Liverpool? But this story isn't as straightforward as it seems. Napoli are reportedly considering offering Kvaratskhelia a new contract, a deal until 2029 with a threefold salary increase. Such generosity clearly shows just how much the Neapolitan club values their diamond. However, there's a catch. Kvaratskhelia and his representatives appear to be open to extending the contract, but only if a reasonable release clause of around 80 million euros is included. Could this become Napoli's Achilles heel in the future, making it easier for Liverpool to strike a deal? After all, such a clause gives potential buyers a clear understanding of how much they need to pay to get the deal done. If the Azzurri refuse to include a release clause, they risk facing even greater pressure from market forces. Kvaratskelia's current contract runs until 2026, and expecting his market value to drop over time seems naive. The player himself has also made it clear that he's a fan of the Champions League, and Liverpool have every chance of securing a solid foothold in that tournament. Interestingly, Kvaratskhelia price tag could easily exceed 80 million euros, as the current transfer market isn't shy about inflating fees to astronomical levels. Napoli will likely try to play hardball and extract the maximum possible fee, while Liverpool will aim to strike a balance between financial caution and the desire to strengthen their squad. After all, how many wingers are out there who can dismantle a defence with a single touch? Will we see Kvaratskhelia donning a Liverpool shirt, dazzling defenders in his signature style? Or will Napoli show their resolve and keep hold of their star for a few more years? The final answer remains unclear for now. Manchester City aren't likely to sit idle, and Arsenal are also keen to add some sparkle to their left flank. However, Liverpool have made Kvaratskhelia a top priority. Can the Georgian maestro withstand the pressure of high-profile offers and remain loyal to Napoli? What do you think? Should Liverpool take the risk for a once unknown player who's now a globally recognised virtuoso? Messi to City? No way. The dust has barely settled on the MLS season, and even though Inter Miami won their Eastern Conference, they got knocked out of the Cup. And then this. Apparently, Leo isn't content with the beaches of Florida and the quieter pace of overseas football. His Majesty seems to have a taste for the big battles again. 4 months off is great, sure, but for a player of Messi's caliber, it's like torture without a ball. And now, it seems, the time has come for Messi to roll back the years. The Champions League beckons. Damn it! And it's not just any old call. Manchester City is on the horizon. Can you imagine this comeback? Messi back in the thick of the football storm. And it's not just about wanting to relive his glory days. The citizens are sputtering, folks. It's a crisis, no less. And who better than a genius of passing and creating chances to reignite this attacking machine? Even at his age, Messi is a world-class conductor, a gifted playmaker. He needs to be on the pitch right now, delivering his signature passes that make defenders' heads spin. And a reunion with Pep? It's every fan's dream. Guardiola and Messi. It's like Beethoven and his piano, like Da Vinci and his brush. Their partnership is a guarantee of a football feast, a fireworks display of goals and tactical masterpieces. Who wouldn't want to see that magic in action again? And if before there were whispers of a 6-month loan, now the information is simply mind-blowing. Messi might stay at City until the end of his career. Wow. It brings to mind the story from a few years ago when Leo was already on the verge of joining the Etihad, but Barca demanded such a high price that the transfer fell through. The irony, right? He ended up leaving on a free transfer anyway, and to the arch-rivals of the Catalans after Real Madrid. So, if he's going to return to Europe, City is a move that wouldn't shock anyone. It seemed like that was it. Full stop. Miami, a peaceful haven for the legend. But no, City's crisis has thrown a wrench in the works, and now the City bosses are looking towards Florida, seeing Messi as a savior. In a normal situation, they might not have considered such a gamble, but now it's different. It's an Essos situation, and a superhero in a striped jersey appears on the scene. Alone? Maybe. Beckham, they say, is open to it. Of course, seeing Messi in the Premier League would be a real treat for all football fans. But honestly, it's hard to believe. 38 years old? That's no joke. Leo seems settled in Miami. Why would he want this hassle at the end of his career? He has nothing left to prove, and money, you'd think, isn't an issue. With all due respect, Messi isn't the player he once was. The skill is still there, that's a fact, but can he be the spark that pulls City out of their crisis? That's the question. More likely, it would be hype based on his name, shirt sales, advertising deals, a pure marketing move. If City were flying high, then yes, Messi could be the cherry on top, adding more titles to his collection. But this struggle when the team is having a hard time, why would the Argentinian want that? Or is the thirst for victory still there? The intrigue is building. What do you say? What do you think of this turn of events? Share your opinions in the comments.